Hello again, this is Nigel from Mad About Animals. In this episode, I'd like to talk about conversations with slaughterhouse workers. Over the past 4 or 5 years, I've had several conversations with slaughterhouse workers. I've probably spoken to 10, maybe a dozen slaughterhouse workers when doing outreach. In addition to that, I have spoken to probably 3, 4 vegans who are ex-slaughterhouse workers. Today, I've been involved in some outreach work with an organisation called We the Free. I'll put a link down in the description. So, We the Free is very similar to the Authentic Experience or Anonymous for the Voiceless, where we show on TVs or laptops or tablets footage of animal agriculture. We show how the animals are bred, how they're reared, and ultimately how they're slaughtered. Members of the public come up and watch the footage and we engage with them. Whilst I was doing this activism today, I actually spoke to two separate slaughterhouse workers. Just like to really tell you a little bit about those conversations. The first one, the guy was probably mid early 20s and he was working at a slaughterhouse outside of which I've done several vigils over the years. So I knew the slaughterhouse from the outside quite well. He didn't work on the kill floor, he worked in the processing afterwards. And it was a typical conversation that we quite often have when we're talking to slaughterhouse workers. He'd watch the footage and it was very much a case of you're showing the worst. That doesn't happen at the slaughterhouses that I've worked at. That doesn't happen at my slaughterhouse. We don't treat animals that badly. All slaughterhouse workers say that. Literally all slaughterhouse workers say that doesn't happen at my place. We talked about pigs. He said at my slaughterhouse, you'd never hear them squeal. A pig, when they're worried or upset or in danger, they will squeal. He said, I've never heard a pig squeal. It's like, really? I know you don't actually work on the kill floor, but most slaughterhouses, even stood outside them, you can hear the pig squeal. So I would have said he was lying, that he'd never heard a pig squeal. But in his eyes, they don't squeal. He even said that they stun them, and he's seen pigs just really look like, oh, I'm going to die now. So what? Bolt through the head. Really? It's quite upsetting to hear someone talking about killing animals like that. He had never killed an animal, remember? It doesn't work on the kill floor, but he was quite blasé about it. So it's quite difficult to talk about that sort of thing when someone says that they work at a slaughterhouse and says that it doesn't happen, they don't kill animals in that way. They're always very careful to make sure that they stun them really well so they don't feel any pain at all when they're slaughtered. We've all seen so much footage of stunning going horrendously wrong and animals being have their throats slit or whatever, while fully conscious and certainly feeling the pain. But as I was talking to this guy, I decided I didn't want to really go down that route with them. So I started to talk about not the suffering of the animals, but the ages of the animals. I asked him about how old the animals were when they were killed at the slaughterhouse he worked at. And to be fair to him, he pretty much got the answers right in terms of the age of the animals. So then I took it a little bit further and I asked him if he knew how old the animals would live if we left them to their own devices, as in if we didn't kill them. Hadn't a clue. So when we're talking about cows, for example, he said they would probably live to be about 4, maybe 5. Like, really? Do you really believe that? And he said that, yeah, I thought that was right. And obviously I corrected him. And I said, don't take my word for it, go away and do your own research. So he was clearly clueless about the age at which the animals that we slaughter are when we slaughter them. So the tack I was taking was we're killing animals that don't want to die significantly before the age that they would die naturally. So I was saying, even if, and this is a very big if, but I wasn't going to argue with him on this point, even if we treated them with the utmost respect. And even if your slaughterhouse is the best slaughterhouse in the world, and even if all slaughterhouses were as good as your slaughterhouse, and we stunned them very carefully, and we gave them the utmost respect, and we made sure that the stunning had completely worked before we put a bolt through the head, or before we slit their throat, or before we gassed them, or whatever. Even if we did all that right and the animals genuinely didn't feel any pain at all, we are still killing them before they would have died naturally. We're still cutting short their life completely unnecessarily. To be fair to him, he did pretty much get that, and he did pretty much accept that, but he wasn't really going to change his ways. He was so ingrained in, no, we do our best. We do it humanely. Which is quite upsetting to realise that there are people walking around that are feeling like that are thinking like that genuinely think that animals don't suffer when we kill them, and that we're okay to kill them because they don't feel pain. Bizarre. It's bizarre when you talk to these people. They have a level of disconnect that is quite often hard to get your head around. The second slaughterhouse worker that I spoke to today, he was about my age, maybe a little bit younger, and he was looking at the footage. Sometimes you can just tell just by how people are standing, about how they're looking. You can tell. So I went up to him and started speaking to him. He was actually looking at footage of cows being slaughtered, and I said all the usual things. Have you seen this sort of thing before? That sort of thing. And he said, "Yeah, I work in a slaughterhouse, mate." Okay, but he worked in a poultry slaughterhouse where they kill poultry, so he'd never really seen cows or sheep or pigs being killed. But we started talking about his job, about what he did, and he did work on the kill floor. Long story short, he basically said that you just get numb to it. You just compartmentalize it in your head. You've got that side. That side of your head is just locked away. Your compassion, and that side of your head is where you do the killing, and like never the two shall meet, as it were. So this is a guy who works in a poultry slaughterhouse, even if it's a small one. And he told me he told me the name of it, but I'm not sure where that particular one is. So, and I can't honestly remember the name, to be frank. But even if it's a small slaughterhouse, he's probably killing several thousand poultry, mostly chickens, obviously, but it could be ducks or turkeys. He's probably killing several thousand animals a week, several thousand, and he's just disconnected from it. He's just doesn't think about it. I asked him if he still eats chicken, and he said, "Yeah, I do," which is just a level of disconnect. He kills them all day, every day for a living, and he'll go happily eat them. It's disconnected. It's just quite bizarre having the conversation with that sort of person. But when I talk to people like that, what I find really frightening is that for his own mental health, he's had to make that disconnect. Now, today has been a really hot day. As you can probably tell, I'm quite red. This was probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was a hot day. And the guy, he wasn't drunk, but he clearly had a drink. Now, I'm not saying he was an alcoholic, but I know that a lot of people that work in slaughterhouses do have addiction problems with alcohol and drugs and that sort of thing. I think there's been studies that show that there's an increased dependency on substance abuse amongst people who work in slaughterhouses. There's increase in mental health issues and that sort of thing. Don't know if this guy was like that, but you get a suspicion, you get a feeling, don't you? So people like that who work in slaughterhouses, and he actually said to me at one point, "I couldn't do anything else, mate." In his own words, he said, I can't remember exactly, it was something along the lines of, "I'm a stick as shit, that's all I could do." It's like, it's really sad, isn't it, when people think that all they can do is work in a slaughterhouse. Now, of course, that's not true. There are plenty of other jobs. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't unemployed people, but you don't have to work in a slaughterhouse. But this guy had disconnected so much that, yeah, it's a job. We don't need to eat animals. We don't need to abuse them. We don't need to make people work in these industries. I've been Nigel from Mad About Animals. If you found this informative or helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Every time you like, share, subscribe, or even comment, it helps us with the rankings on YouTube. It helps us get up there, get the vegan message out. It takes you a second. Just like, share, subscribe. Maybe make a comment. Thank you.